you want to hear some music? You'd like that, wouldn't you? Well, today you're going to get all the music you want.
The request lines are now open. KGFJ Soul Radio.
Do it now, man.
Request lines are up.
It's open, man.
Got any Blue Oyster Cult?
No, I don't have any Blue Oyster Cult. I ate 34 pairs last time around. Where were you? I was that close to working at 7-Eleven, you know.
Pass the word along. Tell the men it's time to shoot the moon.
Shoot the moon!
Not out there on the microphone. On the microphone.
Shoot the moon. Shoot the moon.
The attitude dictates that you don't care whether she comes, stays, lays, or prays. I mean, whatever happens, your toes are still tapping.
Hey, Strawberry! Oh, Strawberry. Hey, what's happening, man? How you doing? This is my friend.
Hey, how you doing, man?
What you looking at, man?
Oh, nothing. I wasn't looking. I wasn't looking at his neck, man.
Can you honestly tell me that you forgot the magnetism of Robin Zander or the charisma of Rick Nielsen?
That's kid stuff.
Kid stuff. Well, how about the tunes? I want you to want me. The Dream Police. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Build your muscles picking strawberries. You know, bend and scoop. Maybe I could get you a job with United Fruit. I got a buddy with United Fruit. Start with strawberries, you might work your way up to these goddamn bananas. When, boy, are you gonna get your act together?
We're creating a society of cell phone crazed, marijuana smoking zombies.
Coming to you not quite live from Lukewarm Tallboy Studios deep in the land of Gar, this is Bend and Scoop, the podcast featuring music, mirth, and minutia, focused on exposing artists you probably haven't heard, but should. I'm Bob, and I'll be your tour guide on this amazingly asymmetric auditory adventure as we journey to the center of your cochlea. Welcome to episode 48, which is also about how many hours it usually takes for our listener count to climb out of single digits. Joining us at the end of the show to play a round of Is That Your Vinyl Answer in the Groovin' After Party will be our very special guests Kristen Studard and Joe Kwaczala from the Who Cares About the Rock Hall podcast. We spread the gospel of vinyl here at Bend and Scoop, so be sure to tell us all about your favorite neighborhood record store by posting to @BendScoop on Twitter or Instagram using the hashtag SpinMomAndPop. Our record store of the week is Blue Arrow Records in Cleveland. You can follow them on Twitter @Blue Arrow Music, on Instagram @Blue Arrow Records, on Facebook @Blue Arrow Records, and you can check out their website at bluearrowrecords.com. San Diego isn't just home to Ron Burgundy, it's also where our first band is based, the Schizophonics, with one off 2019's People in the Sky, called Not Gonna Change My Mind, here on Bend and Scoop.
Standing the screen of that evil eye. KNBR 68 cash call. KNBR 68 cash call.
Gives the money away.
I got a message here waiting for you. I used to trigger like my Suzy Q. You're a liar, I'll never change. Yeah, 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 I lost your wallet and your photograph. I cashed your checks and I sold your stash. You're a liar, I'm tired of you. Yeah, 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 I can't live without you. I got other boys too. Drive me wild. Yeah, 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 you wanna take me to your funeral. I put your flowers in the urinal. You're a liar, and you're dirt. You're so filthy and you're full of stains. When I smell you, I get growing pains. You're so childish, and you suck your thumb. Yeah, 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 I can't live without you. I got other boys too. Drive me wild. I see you chewing on your fingernails. You're living in a fucking fairy tale. Like a hole that keeps on sucking me. Go and make yourself like a tree. This stuff is smoking and it's burning hot. This bitch is ready to throw the pot. I can't live without you. I got other boys too. Drive me wild. Yeah, 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 I can't live without you. I got other boys too. Drive me wild. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Losers will always cry. Yeah, yeah. This is your lullaby. Yeah, yeah. Losers will always cry. Yeah, yeah. This is your lullaby. Losers will always cry. This is your lullaby. Losers will always cry. This is your lullaby. I got a message for you. Losers will always cry. This is your lullaby. 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 Losers will always cry.
Loser's Lullaby there by Switzerland's The Jackets from their 2019 album Queen of the Pill. How Many is a podcast where I get together with my friends Jesse, Junior, Gary, and Scott to debate a variety of pop culture topics, including movies, sports, TV, music, and more. You can follow How Many on Twitter at How Many Podcast and listen at howmanypodcast.com, where you can hear us discuss the greatest American bands in our latest episode. Most Birmingham bands we find are from England, but the Blips' Sweet Home is in Alabama, and their just released self-titled debut includes this catchy tune, Patty's Patio, here on Bend and Scoop.
Make it something good.
This is our final objective. Our project orders are to subdue the crew and seize control of this emplacement.
Hold it, sister. We're not going near that thing. That missile is tipped with a 40-megaton fission fusion nuclear warhead.
Good night, everybody.
Where are you going?
Home.
For once, I am in complete agreement with my friend here. I think we should all get up and leave this place immediately. You know what those things can do? Suck the paint off your house and give your family a permanent orange afro.
Chasing these rumors, girls. You're trying so hard to be a baby boomer girl. And while you're dreaming, it's the 1970s. How could you ever feel left behind? It's kind of amusing, all of these rumors, girls. I know it's confusing, leaving the mirror, girls. You wear your heart inside your Vanish jeans. Now what do you do with all that worthless ink? Don't you ever think you might outgrow all those rings? Better than all of these rumors, girls. I can't afford any leather, so I can't sit with you girls. If I sold all I had, I could buy that thing you made. But I don't go out at night, so I won't get the time of day. No, I won't get the time of day.
That's Rumors Girls by LA's Jordan Jones from a single he released in 2019. Have you ever wanted to host a podcast? Well, all you have to do to join the Mike Hunt and host your very own episode of Assume the Juxtaposition is send me your topic idea to lukewarmtallboy@gmail.com. You can follow Assume the Juxtaposition on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all at AssumeTJPod. Power Popper's Disc, with a Q, not a C or a K, from Madison, Wisconsin, released their debut LP, Collector, in 2020, which opens with this captivating track, Daily Routine, here on Bend and Scoop.
This is my daily routine. Spend my hours on computer screen. I'll lay around for a while, get feeling like I'm supposed to be. Daily routine, take care of my basic needs. I have a daily routine, I thought it looked better inside a dream. Come on and hit me in the head real hard. I haven't hurt myself quite enough so far. Save me, I don't. To be feeling clean. Guess I should probably know it's something I've already seen. Come on and listen to me cry for help, 'cause sometimes I feel like I wanna kill
Rock and Roll Army members, listen carefully. 101 KLOL presents an exclusive pre-release listening party for the new Pink Floyd album, The Wall. This Saturday night, a very special Rock and Roll Army maneuver at the Sound Warehouse on Shepherd between Richmond and the Southwest Freeway, 8 p.m. All KLOL Rock and Roll Army members are urged to attend at 8 p.m. Saturday to experience the genius and stand reeling on the edge of madness. The Wall by Pink Floyd at an exclusive KLOL Rock and Roll Army listening party. Sorry, because of the exclusive nature, no tape recorders will be allowed. Cold refreshments, Texas style, supplied by Lone Star Beer. The Wall by Pink Floyd. Another special event for the KLOL Rock and Roll Army from your friends at 101 KLOL.
Planes landing where you drive. You're not there, you won't arrive for the last time of the year. When your best friends reappear, when you sleep you sweat through the sheets. No parades, no candy on feet. Be as good as you want to be. Be as good as you want to be. To me, and the freeway may be shut down, and the two of us stuck in the same town. No way that we can leave. Too crazy to be believed. Be as good as you want to be. Be as good as you want to be.
Boat is docked in Seattle, where they advise us to be as good as you want to be from 2020's Tread Lightly. Plausible Deniability is a monthly podcast I co-host with my pal David Miller, which you can follow on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all at Pause Deny. We post new episodes on the first day of every month. From Chicago comes Mammals, with this single they released in 2020 called In the Darkness on Bend and Scoop.
When
Where's the brain for the Scram Jam 7000?
Procurement picked it up over an hour ago.
Well, was it fixed?
Yeah, new voice scramblers and everything.
Huh. Well, what about that red Chinese radio chatter?
It's done. Here you go.
That was a static-filled triple-scrambled microwave transmission between two soldiers talking in Mandarin Chinese.
Well, the Chinese were only using a simple polyphonetically grouped 20-square digit key transposed in booster-verdonic form with multiple nulls. I broke it with this.
A Drogan's decoder wheel? They put these things into cereal boxes for kids.
Yeah, I found it in a box of Lucky Charms.
That's why I called you on the phone. Baby, be my chaperone. Baby, play me one more song. Make it fast and make it long. Baby, play me one more song. Make it fast and make it long. Bartender saying we're done. Make it fast and make it long. Take me home. Barry's gone and Joey's gone. I think I need you to take me home. Barry's gone and Joey's gone. That's why I call you the phone. Baby, pick me up and take me home. 1, 2, 3, go.
Man, I love that jam. Spokane's Vanna O with Chaperone, a single from 2020. Campfire Songs is a podcast where I get together with my buddies Todd, Jim, and Tom to share and discuss songs with each other. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at Songs Campfire and give us a listen for more great music. And don't forget to stick around for the end of the show when we'll be joined in the Groovin' After Party by our special guests Kristen Studard and Joe Kwaczala from the Who Cares About the Rock Hall podcast. The Woggles may sound like the name of an Australian band whose target demo are toddlers, but they're actually rockers from Atlanta, extolling the greatness of sweet freedom here on Bend and Scoop.
Defense, Pioneer, BIC Venturi. Top brands at the right prices and private listening rooms where you can hear it all.
And when you make your own kind of music, make it at Pacific Stereo.
Eliminator, we'll see you now. He's close behind. How you ever gonna find your way out? The ocean level, afraid to die. You're losing ground underneath the waterline.
Eliminator there, not by ZZ Top, but New Zealand's World Series with a U instead of an O, from their brand new record, What's Growing. Well, one thing that's definitely growing is our Bend and Scoop Spotify playlist. If we played it and they have it, you can listen to it there. And if you enjoyed listening to what we do here on Bend and Scoop, please take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you get your podcasts, especially Apple. It may be true that no one else can dance like you, but there ain't nobody that spies like us.
Did you hear that? Yeah. It's a dickfer.
What's a dickfer?
To pee with.
Spies like us. Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd.
We've got a very special assignment for you two.
Heads down!
This is my sister. You can all have her.
You want some coffee? That's a good idea. Let me see that. Hey, come on.
Honestly, you two were unbelievable.
Stop!
Every minute you don't tell us why you're here, I cut off a finger.
Mine or yours?
Yours.
Damn! Down!
Hi-yo, Silver! Away!
Chevy Chase.
Get us the hell out of here!
Dan Aykroyd.
To think my high school guidance counselor said I'd never amount to anything.
Spies like us.
We're Americans!
People listen to people. So listen, people.
Welcome to the Groovin' After Party. Come on in and pour yourself a cold one.
Joining me now for our Groovin' After Party here on Bend and Scoop are Joe Kwaczala and Kristen Studard from the Who Cares About the Rock Hall podcast. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
So tell everybody about Who Cares About the Rock Hall. The title is somewhat self-descriptive, but give us a little flavor.
Yeah, it's interesting. Kristen, you and I have never promoted the show together. Usually I bring it up on podcasts. I think maybe you reluctantly bring it up on a podcast or two, right?
Occasionally people will put that in my credits.
To your dismay. But that's kind of what we're saying is kind of reflective of the dynamic on our show, which is that I am a longtime Rock Hall obsessive. I have like an encyclopedic knowledge of the institution for some reason. And Kristen came into the show, and we celebrated 3 years of the show recently.
Congrats.
Kristen comes into the show from a much more skeptical and, at first, zero knowledge of this peripheral yet somehow ubiquitous institution.
Yeah, I'm a music fan who doesn't like lists or categories or institutions. And so, yeah, I came at it from that angle. And now I know a lot about the Rock Hall, and some might say, I do care.
Well, I listened to the episode you guys did recently on Rage Against the Machine. I really enjoyed that. You had Sean from The Ringer was on that episode.
Yeah, Sean Fennessy, who is a Rock Hall voter. And
yes.
So he is someone that I've been in contact with for a while, trying to get him on the show. And I was glad. I thought Rage was a good episode for him. And we like to pair our guests with artists to talk about, and we try to do it in a way that we can get someone who's particularly passionate. And I think Sean really, Rage meant a lot to him.
Yeah, it's a great topic. I mean, not just Rage, but just the Rock Hall debate in and of itself. My friends and I, anytime the nominees come out, we'll kind of go through and talk about which ones we think should or shouldn't be, or the ones that aren't getting in that we think should be in. And yeah, it's a great topic for conversation. So it's an awesome podcast.
Thank you.
Topic to have as well. So you said you've been doing it for 3 years. Are you on a weekly schedule, bi-weekly? How often do you guys do new shows?
Oh, we are weekly. I think Kristen
really are.
Kristen would like to take a break, but we are very consistent, and
that is the key. Sometimes you have to feed the content beast. It demands fresh new takes on an old institution.
Definitely. And by the way, I support both of you getting included to the nominee or nominators.
Yeah, we're looking for ballots.
Yes.
We're looking for ballots. Yeah. If anybody who's listening to this has any clout.
Yeah, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, realistically, given how close to the inner circle we've gotten at the Rock Hall, which sounds insane, but it's true. Our proximity now to the people in power, it's kind of wild, especially from where we began.
Yeah, it's such a small group too, we came from the outer circle of people who knew or cared about the Rock Hall at all. And there's only a few more rings till you're at the inner circle, because it's a pretty small group of people who are in this niche. And now we are de facto experts, and we're just making our way toward.
And influencers, because as our listeners will see in the next coming weeks, we literally get on the phones and we call voters. To some of them, it's more like an exit poll because they've already submitted their ballot, but many of them have not filled it out, and we get to try and make an impact.
We did some unpaid lobbying this year.
It's almost like 6 Degrees of Jan Wenner. You know, whoever those circles you're talking about, how you can get to the inner circle. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, the music business, you know, it's very insular, and like, you know, obviously you think about the music business as pretty big, but like the people at Power, there's a small number of them, and they're all friends.
Well, I hope it happens, because it really would be a case of you almost manifesting it into reality.
I really have wasted my wish on this, you know, like that this has happened to me, that suddenly like the big thing I've manifested for my life is I'm voting for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like,
it would really be, it would be quite an arc though, you know.
I mean, what would the life be?
I love it.
I got to start a new podcast about, I don't know, getting a TV show or something.
So for each of you right now, who, and it could be a current nominee or somebody who's not on the ballot, who would you most like to see in who's not in right now?
I mean, someone who's not currently in,
yes,
could include the ballot,
but not limited to the ballot.
Yeah, but it was a little bit of, I don't want to call it an experiment, but I was pushing Kool and the Gang pretty hard, both on the show to anyone who would listen and to people on the nominating committee as well. Just, I feel like Kool and the Gang checks a lot of boxes in terms of like a group that was around for a long time, has a dozen songs that everybody knows, including some songs that are so big that they're like transcendent. You know, it's also for an institution that does not, in the recent history, has not inducted a lot of living Black artists. You know, you would get a handful of living Black artists with that band. And also, I think that era, especially like the 70s, like kind of funk, R&B, like kind of groove bands, has not been as addressed by the Hall. So I think they're just, to me, that's the one.
Yeah, and they've had a pretty big influence on culture in terms of, you know, their music's been used in some pretty big movies. Like I know Tarantino's was Hollywood Swingin' was in Pulp Fiction, I think.
Jungle Boogie.
Or Jungle Boogie, that's right.
And also, what I didn't even mention was that their influence on hip hop is extremely important. And that might be the thing that really puts it over the edge for me.
That I think is your biggest argument when I hear you make the pitch.
Because when you are in the Hall has now, there's 7 rap hip hop inductees at this point. There will continue to be more. That is the direction the Hall is going, and that's great. But, you know, when you look at what's important to that genre, and you look at, especially in the 90s, so many iconic hip hop songs hinge on a Kool and the Gang sample. And, you know, you go to like, there's websites that document the most sampled artists, and outside of like James Brown and Michael Jackson, like Kool and the Gang is towards the top.
And for me, you know, for a long time, so the first artist that I was completely shocked and shaken was not in the Hall and had never at that time been nominated was Pat Benatar. And then when she was on the ballot last year, I said that I would quit the show if she did not get in. We can see that I have very loose morals. I am not a person of my word. I do still do the show. I do think that she's someone who, I have a few people that have been like snubbed as well. So Pat is one that I really would love to see get in. Shaka Khan is someone who has been on the ballot several times and has not gotten in. And then this year, my all-time snub that I can't believe it, she's going to get in this year, it's Tina Turner solo. So I'm, you know, and I'd like to see, there's like a lot of snubs that I now know about. I think I would love to see LL Cool J get in as well. I don't have any kind of, you know, never been nominated pitches, because suddenly people that I want to get in are getting nominated, which is quite exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm right there with you on Pat Benatar. I have an ongoing argument with a friend of mine who he always claims, and I like Joan Jett. That was the first concert I ever saw when I was a kid, but he always claims that she was more impactful. And I'm like, no, Pat Benatar, we have that argument. And I say Pat Benatar had more hits. She was she had a bigger impact. I think, Joan Jett did as well, but I'm with you. I think Pat Benatar absolutely should be in there for sure.
Well, she should. And also there's room for her and Joan and like the Go-Go's and fucking everybody from the 80s, 90s and beyond. Like, it doesn't have to be like who's even more deserving, because I'm just like, they both were women who were just shredding and kicking ass in the 80s, and they should both be in.
Yes, absolutely. Did not mean to slight Joan at all. She's awesome as well. The one I think, especially on the current ballot, and I think they've been on previous years, that I would love to see get in would be Devo. And that's kind of a personal thing for me, but because that's right in my wheelhouse. When I was a teenager, I'm a bit older. I was in high school in the early 80s. So, I mean, that's for me, that was like, and especially I think the greater influence, that's something that I think is a definite big Rock Hall staple and criteria, is how influential were they on other acts and other forms of performance and music. And they're almost kind of, to me, like a music / performance art.
Yeah, by design.
Yeah,
they would be a very good inductee. I think we're both very much on Team Devo. We're not seeing it this year, I don't think. It's not looking good for them. It's probably just not the right year for them. How many times have they been nominated, Joe?
This is number 2.
When was the last one? Was it in the
2019?
Yeah. Okay. So it was during our show that they've been nominated twice. Yeah. So we did that.
Well, hopefully the third time will be the charm.
Yeah, maybe. I agree. I mean, we'll see. It's so funny. It's like, it really depends on who else is on the ballot. Like, if they aren't facing stiff competition, but then also you give me like 5 minutes and I could put together a ballot where they would be at the bottom. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like it really, that's such a big factor of it, but I do think they will get in eventually. I think it's going to be difficult to ignore them, but also they suffer from being a little bit fringe versus, contemporaries of theirs that were, had much more commercial success.
Yeah, and I also think
a little fringe and
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, just that, like they suffer from being a little fringe, and then also I think being seen as a novelty act or a one-hit wonder by people, just kind of because most people's familiarity with them ends at Whip It, begins at the Hat and then ends at Whip It. And I do. That's exactly what I was going to say about the novelty piece, that some people almost view them as kind of a gag band or not just a one-hit wonder, but that they were almost like
a joke,
comedic, like it wasn't even a serious thing. But
it's interesting. I've been thinking about that phenomenon a lot since we lost Shock G this week from Digital Underground, who, by all accounts is like a genius and like discovered Tupac and like did all these really interesting things that moved hip hop forward. But everybody knows the Humpty Dance.
The Humpty Dance.
Yep.
Where he's wearing like literal Groucho glasses and like with a big nose, and it's so silly. And like that is far and away his biggest commercial success. And like that is a part of it, but like for a lot of people, that's everything. And the context can be lost for a lot of people.
Definitely. So let's learn a little bit about each of your own personal musical journeys. And we'll play around with something we like to call, Is That Your Vinyl Answer? Now, starting with the first one, and this ought to be something I think you probably both have discussed before. What's the first record you ever bought with your own money?
So, I recall, like, I have memories of getting albums and like wanting specific albums, but getting them as birthday presents or getting them from mother's purse. But I want to say, Kristen, do you know your answer?
I have like 3 that I can recall. I remember like the first few CDs that I ever bought. And one that I really remember buying, and like it, because I spent my own money on it. I don't know if this is the first. It was definitely in the first couple. This was in the very early 90s. And I bought the Arrested Development album. It's like a big number, so and so how many days in the life of Arrested Development. It was like their first album. And I bought it because they had a song that was on the radio that I loved, which sampled Everyday People by Sly and the Family Stone. And they
heavily.
had,
That's like the chorus.
yes. And I thought the song was so good, and I bought the CD, and I made my parents put it on in the car on the way home. I was like, put this on, go to track number, whatever, you got to play it. And it was the freaking spoken word version. They did not have the radio version with the like great, groove to it. It was the spoken word version on the album. I was so furious because I had just spent my own money on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember that very vividly. I also remember owning a CeCe Peniston album, the one that had Finally on it. I remember owning that in like 1992 or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, that's man. Because I have a lot of memories of the albums that I got a lot of Weird Al. That was my first foray into music. And even though I don't think that was ever with my own money, it sometimes it might have been. My journey of collecting Weird Al stuff might have began with like getting a Bad Hair Day, which is the Amish Paradise version or album.
Yeah.
It was, and I was doing cassettes, even though it was like late for cassettes. For whatever reason, it was just like we're doing cassettes. And I think through my journey of collecting all the Weird Al discography, it started out gifts and mother's purse, and then transitioning into like now I'm getting so much of it that now I am paying for it.
Okay. Do you both remember where you first went to get your records, and do you still have those that you're mentioning?
I culled a lot of my CDs before I moved to Los Angeles because I was doing like a big clear out of like everything I owned. And so I went to like Half Price Books or whatever and got probably like 17 cents per CD. But I used to, the big places to get, I think it was called Sun. It was like Island or Sun or something like that. I just remember there being a palm tree.
Suncoast?
Maybe it was Suncoast. Yeah.
Oh, Suncoast Video. I remember that being, maybe it was like Suncoast Video and Records or something like that.
Yeah. And then Best Buy was also like a main stop.
Yeah, for sure.
There was a record store down the street from me in like the town that we moved to when I was 11. And it was an independent record store called Crow's Nest in Crest Hill, Illinois. And it was very cool. It had, it was like one of those big kind of warehousey type buildings,
Mm-hmm.
and there were little CD players that you could go in and like listen to
the listening station,
picks, the listening station and stuff like that. And I could walk there from my house that we moved into when I was in junior high. And so I can remember going there to buy stuff, but I was actually really intimidated because I was a kid. So I was like, these people are cool. They know about records. There's all these records here. What even, who would, and how? And then and so I think I felt a little less intimidated going into like a Best Buy, which we also had one down the street from me as well. And I no longer have any CDs at all to my name. I gave them all to my little sister when I left. I think when I moved like 10 years ago at one point, I like gave them all to my little sister who still had a CD player in her car and was in high school and was like, oh yeah, I'll take all your CDs. She was playing like ska CDs in her car in 2015.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Incredible. I think part of my one of the reasons I don't have like super clear memories about buying music is like I learned how to download MP3s in 6th grade. So like I got in on that game early. So it wasn't
early adapter Napster over here. What were you on?
That's when Napster was huge. And so it wasn't like the music was accessible to me in other ways, in other really easy ways. So like going to the record store and getting albums wasn't as, pivotal because I knew where else to get the music.
Exactly. So which band or artist albums would you say you make up the largest portion of your collection in any form, digital, whatever you have?
Ooh. I'm like, who's my most saved artist on Spotify is truly like the question. Like, cause my iTunes collection for like a decade, I cared about a lot and I was buying full albums and listening to them and things like that. And I will still occasionally go and do that. But the majority of my listening is on Spotify, which is probably not great for artist revenue.
Yeah. I know that it may be by per I'm thinking like per volume, and then also like, so I have like 100% everything that Nirvana like ever recorded. I have a digital, I have an MP3 of like, I have everything they put out. So that's like, I could conceivably have more of other artists, but not have all their other thing, obviously because Nirvana put out 3 studio albums and then there's like a B-sides collection and a live album or 2. And then, the box set. So like I have all that. Kind of same thing with the Beatles, is that like, I've got everything that they ever put out. And then when they re-released everything in mono, I've got that as well. And then like the anthology CDs, which is like a lot of outtakes and things like that. And like tracks where they're just like kind of laughing and talking to each other and are probably high. Like I have a lot of that as well. I think so. Those are probably the 2 biggest ones. At a certain point, I pivoted back to CDs just when I thought like I was becoming like a more serious music listener. And I did purchase a lot of Elvis Costello and the Attractions. And so maybe I have like the first 7 or 8 of his records. And then around there, it starts getting not as great. And then I stopped my chronological journey through his catalog.
Okay.
I'm literally over here like, because I really rarely stick with an artist for a long time. I'm like, it's like relationships I've been in. I certainly like bought a lot of Montreal albums in the early and mid 2000s.
And there were a lot of them to buy.
Exactly. They were
He's still putting them out too.
Exactly. I just noticed that.
Yeah.
I like kind of did a re-listen recently of just a bunch of Montreal. And I was like, okay, I see what I was doing there. Like, I get that. But yeah, I'm not like a completionist. I'm not a cataloger. It is just not my vibe. And I think that like we get into this a lot on our show because I'll pick something up and put it down. And it's just, I don't very rarely need to get all the way to the bottom of a thing.
Yeah, I think that I do. And then I give up. I started listening to Elvis Costello at the end of high school, and then like very slowly was getting one of the, like I would try to really have an album seep into my brain and really take my time with it while I'm listening to other music too. And then I think I was maybe a year or 2 out of college and I got as far as I did. And I was like, I think I'm going to move on.
Which of his is your favorite, Joe?
Ooh, I like, obviously a lot of people say This Year's Model, and I think I might be there with that. I do like Get Happy quite a bit.
Nice.
And I have a soft spot in my heart, although it's kind of weird. The album Imperial Bedroom is like a really mature album that's like about him being like in a bad marriage and like all these like kind of domestic things. And I like listened to it a lot when I was 18, and it's just a very weird matching of where I was in my life and then listening to this old man who wants a divorce and being like, yeah, I get it.
I actually have an answer. I realized that I probably own the most music, or like the most music that was available, by the Talking Heads. I would say Talking Heads. Oh, great. Is probably the band
I love the Talking Heads.
Yeah, that's another one where like I went through it like I was going through the albums and stuff, and I was like, yeah, that's a good band. REM's another good band where like you can go through their albums and like each one is like pretty good, and you can keep that going.
Kristen, what's your favorite Talking Heads record?
Remain in Light, probably.
Which
I like a lot of their stuff, but that's probably my favorite.
I recently read the Chris Frantz autobiography that he just released this year, and I had never realized that when they were recording Remain in Light at the studio in the Bahamas, that in the studio next door to them, AC/DC was recording Back in Black at the exact same time. I'm like, wow, those are two of like the Pantheon albums in music, and they were in the same recording studio at the exact same time.
It's crazy when that happens. I think Tapestry and maybe Blue by Joni Mitchell, and then maybe Sweet Baby James. Like they were, I don't think it's those three exactly, but it was those three artists recording. Like I think it was Blue. It's just nuts that especially during that era, that like kind of shit could happen.
Also, just like they're at a recording studio in the Bahamas. Like what was happening there? Was there an exciting producer, an exciting studio there, or was everyone just sick of weather?
I think it was the studio. I think it was owned by the guy that owned Island Records.
Chris Blackwell?
Yes, Chris Blackwell. Yeah, I think it was his studio. I think it was Compass Point is the name of it. Yeah, so it was a pretty known and widely used studio for that era, that time frame. So, yeah, like the Stones, I think, recorded there at some point. So
Compass Point. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely heard of that.
Yeah. So who among your friends and family would you say currently has the largest vinyl collection?
Ooh, we have both. One of our mutual friends, Joe McAdam, has like in his house, like he has like quite a swath of records, and like when we're over there, he'll put on a record. Has like a record player. He's got a good hangout house. I say that having not hung out with anyone in over a year.
My roommate's boyfriend is a former musician, and his house is, he's still a musician, but he was like a former touring musician. And his house is covered like top to bottom in just like just cases of records everywhere. And he has them like, they're alphabetized, and then he has like a whole Spanish language section as well. For like, he has the biggest record collection I've ever seen in person, I guess. Gabe Saucedo.
I have to love to see that. I'm fascinated by massive collections. I'm rebuilding mine. I was one of those idiots who, when CDs came out, like, oh, I'm not going to need these records anymore. I'm just going to want to buy more CDs. So I sold all of them and been rebuilding. So I'm getting closer to like 100, which seems like a lot, but I know I've got a friend who's got thousands. It's just
my friend, incredible. You know what? I also saw a friend yesterday. I'm recently fully vaccinated, so my life has changed. And I saw a friend yesterday, and this is a very wild thing. She's a big record collector, and she had just gone to Permanent Records. They had like their Permanent Vacation. I can't remember it. Paradise. The record store in East Hollywood. It's by my old place. I'm clearly not a vinyl hunter, but it was their second anniversary or whatever. So she had gone record hunting that morning and had come back with like what did she have? A Modern Lovers album. And then she had Third Eye Blind's self-titled album. Debut. And I was like, we have got to listen to that. And we listened to it on vinyl yesterday.
That's hilarious.
I was like,
that's an early one for me.
I was going to say those two artists don't get purchased in tandem very often. I wouldn't
probably never.
Yeah. She also bought, I'm trying to remember what else she had bought. She bought a Jet record. Like
eclectic.
Yeah. And
there is a Jet record. Or
yeah, exactly. She bought the Jet record. I think record, might be the correct answer for that.
Probably same thing with Modern Lovers. I think they just said they were one and done.
Yeah. Because everything after that would be just Jonathan Richman.
Richman. Yeah. It was very fun to listen to. It also reminded me of just like how that is such 90s music. Like Third Eye Blind is such 90s music. There is just evocative, just the tone, the way, just the fact that it was on the radio and everyone heard it. you know, that you don't really get massive hits the way that like Semi-Charmed Life. And also I knew that whole album because I remember my high school boyfriend was really into Metallica and also Third Eye Blind, which was very an interesting combination. And I remember I knew that entire album, just like every single song on it.
Yeah, well, there's also like 4 big radio hits on there because there's
Yes.
How's It Gonna Be, there's Jumper, and there's Graduate. right?
Graduate. And there's one more.
And obviously Semi-Charmed Life.
Semi-Charmed Life.
Yeah.
That's the fourth one.
I figured I wouldn't.
That's
you
a
already
little
said
guy.
it.
Well, before we wrap up, let's get everybody caught up on what the socials are, how they can follow the podcast. Each of you, you know, if there's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, what all do we have for the podcast and for you guys?
Sure. Well, the podcast on Instagram and Twitter at Rock Hall Pod. And then I'm at Joe K on Twitter and at Joe Kwa on Instagram.
And I am at K-Stud across all platforms.
Makes it easy. I always tell
Truly.
people when you're branding, especially bands that have different, it's like just pick one that's going to be the same on all of them. So there's no confusion. That's the right way to go. Guys, thanks so much for being on. I really appreciate you taking the time. I love the podcast. Highly recommend.
thank you.
Definitely give it a listen, folks. And
Yes. And the inductees will be announced very soon. So this is an exciting time to be listening to our show. We'll be doing
Oh, yeah.
We'll be announcing it pretty much as soon as they are announced in general.
And you will hear Joe reveal them to me live on our show. I purposely and accidentally do not care or follow when they are released. And as soon as they come out, Joe will reveal them to me in real time. And I will have a certain level of excitement and probably disappointment based on who gets in this year.
And what day usually does the podcast come out?
On Fridays. So I think you should technically, it comes out midnight Friday, like East Coast. So like 9 p.m. Thursday night on the West Coast. So it's technically Thursday night, but as soon as it crosses over into Friday on the East Coast.
Nice. Some nice synergy. This podcast releases on Friday. So we're going to have released at the same time.
It's going to be a big Friday for fans of Who Cares About the Rock Hall.
Definitely. Guys, thanks so much again.
Thank you.
And
absolutely.
Best of luck on the pod.
Thank
and
you.
Look forward
You
to
too.
future episodes.
Thank you. Thanks so
Thank
much
you for having us on.
Bye-bye, lard-ass.
Bend and Scoop is a production of Lukewarm Tallboy Studios.
We will return tomorrow morning with the sun.
Good evening, and have a good life.